Okay, this one I'm excited to do. I'm on my way to DC to catch a cheap flight to France. Super cheap tickets out of Dulles. So there's an art to taking 3 to 4 hour. I'll take either a train, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and then I'll take the metro an hour. So it's a 4 hours. But if you're going to France every single month, you need to get them $300, $400, $500 tickets. So right? I could be paying thousands of dollars because I don't want to take a train. So I have a lot of time to get some content out. And today we're going to talk about what every comment under every podcast bro should be. And we have all this conversation about the healthy divine feminine. And I do have a lot of content about that. America is such a masculine country. It's such a capitalistic country. They desperately just keep trying to, just strip all the feminine energy out of it. And so everyone born here, you're born on the masculine end of things. And unless you rewrite that, it's hard to get out. So we're doing all this work to bring some balance to this horribly masculinized country. But no one ever talks about, well, what's the healthy divine masculine, right? We're talking about the divine feminine, healthy divine feminine. We're doing all this work. And so this is for the fellas, because you guys honestly don't know. And we're going to go into not only what the characteristics of healthy divine masculine is, and, I'll share my experiences with it, but also what's the state of that here in this country and genetics and breeding, because, a big part of being in healthy divine feminine is being selective with what genetics we're passing on, and we've been lax. There's lots of reasons for it. Some say in patriarchy, everybody was promised a wife, but that shouldn't have been the case, right? Only the best should have been able to get married and the rest stay single. And as you guys know, staying single for women is not the same debilitating effects as men who are lonely. They're happier, they live longer, they're fresher, they're more youthful. So let's go into it. And the reason I titled it Every Podcast Bro, because there just needs to be one response to all these podcasters. And hey, how you doing? Hey, there should only be one response to all these podcasters who are telling everybody what it needs to be and how women need to act and what they don't or do like about women. And the one response is, what are you providing? I saw a TikTok, a guy saying how we told women we don't like this, and which the only response should get, what are you providing to a woman that she would actually listen to what you say and care about what you want? And we really need to start hitting this to the point. What are you providing that we should care? I'm a bird, and I'm a bird. I'm a bird in the field, right? I'm not going to use another example, right? Even in the animal kingdom, you have to provide something in order for us to even consider continuing your genetic legacy. So you can get on podcasts and say, you don't like fat women. You can get on podcasts and say, I don't like single mothers, which is a lie, because I've had no problem being a single mom, okay? Getting with dudes. Me, I just have to make sure that they're not weirdos. But, there's no problems with men who aren't weirdos who like single mothers. But you can get on the podcast and say that all you want. The reality is, why should I care? What are you providing that I care about what you want? Okay? What does it matter what you want? What are you doing so that someone should care, or any woman should care, that you don't like fat chicks or black chicks or whatever you don't like? Why does anyone care? And whatever you want, why should anyone care? What are you providing? And that needs to be throughout all of this conversation. The only response you get, what are you providing so that any woman cares about what you like or don't like? And I have my daughter here, so I'm not going to keep it a buck the way I would, because we don't cuss. Because if I cuss, she's going to be like, oh, you said what? Trying to keep my daughter's innocence, so I won't keep, so I'll use euphemisms. So let's talk about the healthy divine masculine. And these men aren't providing it. So unless they are, you make them spell it out. What are you providing? So you're attractive. And there's a lot of attractive guys I've been with that offer nothing. They're not generous. They're not, no provision, no protection. They don't want to be in a committed relationship. So even if you're attractive, it means nothing. And then we're going to go into genetics for you. All right. So what are the traits of a healthy divine masculine? And wonderfully, I've had this experience, especially as I've done more with feminine energy. I've actually been meeting these more masculine energy men than before I did it. They are a minority. They're not the majority in this country. And we're going to get into that because I think more than half these men are like either outright gay, secretly gay, closet down low gay, or super feminine energy right next to it in this country. If I wasn't traveling out of the country as much, I wouldn't say this, but I am. And it's just really, it's something smells funny. Something's not right in the water. Okay. And they can't just blame it on soy sauce and soy and all their foods. But we're going to get into that. So a healthy divine masculine energy. They exist. They are the minority. But a healthy divine masculine, one of the traits is provision. And we'll just go over to providing and protection. That is one of the traits. They do get a sense of accomplishment and feeling of doing things right when they're taking care of their family, their friends, their sisters, just taking care of people. And now the wonderful thing, and so that's it. And that can be providing a house, providing the job, providing stability, providing so you don't have to work, protecting so you don't have to worry, I got you. That's healthy masculinity. So for all these podcast bros or anyone on TikTok or on social media talking about what they want, the thing needs to be asked, well, what are you providing or protecting? How are you doing it? What have you done in your past that shows that you have this ability or the desire to do it? Because a lot of these guys don't even have the desire to do it. It's not in their genetic makeup anymore. Men were breeding and having kids with men who don't have that gene. So before, it was something that was genetically inclined in them that kept the species evolving positively. Well, do you guys think we're evolving positively still? Because we're de-evolving because men with really horrible genetics have been proliferating. So divine protection, divine provision, that's the first part. What else is it? Well, another aspect of healthy divine masculinity is also the hunt. And the fourth one is the ability to build, right? So to hunt. So this is the one who they can go out and get something. They lose a job, they can go grab one. They miss out on this apartment, they can get the second one. The ability to go on a mission, right? It doesn't have to be for food. It can be for resources. It can be for safety. Like I said, these men exist. I just find that it's the minority of men in this country. I'm driving, so I'm going to just click on it, but I'm not going to read it, but everyone else can read this. This is what I personally feel. And so the hunt is a big part of it. So it's funny, just a little example. Someone who works for me, and you guys know I hire everyone. I hire masseuse, I hire house cleaners, I hire landscapers, I hire organizers, I hire cleaners, I hire painters. I don't do anything. I don't want to do anything. It's worth paying you $20, $30 an hour. You do 2 hours worth of work, they pay you $60. That's how I live my life. So I hire a lot of people, so I know a lot of people. And she has a boyfriend she lives with and a son. And she is going out of her way to find an apartment for all of them. So he's not doing anything. And I was like, why do you have him around if he's not doing this work? And she's like, well, then my baby won't have a father figure. And I'm like, what kind of father figure is it? Can't even hunt for an apartment. So hunting is not just this, and hunting is not just for food. It is for resources. It's for security. But they are able to go, we need this. I'm going to go get it. So my daughter's listening, and she's adding her 2 cents that hunters need to do something. You're correct, baby. They need to do something. You're not just here to just sit there and look cute. That's the woman's job, right? So like the hunt and the mission, and get it. It is for everything. It is, I lose my job. Well, you need to go out and get another one. This is this is survival too. So the hunter is part of it. I need to hear like, and there's some guys that just don't have it. You know what I mean? Like it's just not in there. They lose it and they're just, that's it. And so hunting is a really big part of it, the ability to execute. And that's part of healthy divine masculinity either. It's like, hey, if I lose my job, I'll take 2 crappy jobs to make sure you're okay. There are men like that. I think it's the minority, not the majority in this country. I think this country is sort of like, it's going downhill so fast. I like France. I don't know yeah, it's funny. I have a language partner. She said not in France. I have a language partner. He's 24, and I was telling him about like just things going on here. And he's 24, and he's like, and I was talking about guys here just won't even work and just live off their women. And he's like, what? That is terrible. It's like a 24-year-old. Like, you do not do that here. Now, granted, France has a lot of safety nets for the men. So, like, even someone who makes minimum wage, he'll get like $300-400 stipend so he can afford his own place. But at least he has his own place, and there's different social welfare and benefits. So even if you don't make enough, that it is enough for you to survive with all the other like safety nets you have. You need it. So, but still, like, you still need to work, right? Like, that is not heard of culturally. Like, you lose a job and never get one. Like, no, everyone will get on you for it. Layla, just let mommy do this, okay? Okay? Yeah, you can. Yeah. Here, give it to me. Give it to me. Oh, sorry. I have to put my code in. No, you can't. You're not gonna get my code to the phone. All right. So, we were talking about oh yeah, how it's not done. So yeah, of course, like they have different things that make it easier for you to survive even off minimum wage in Europe, just because they take care of their people more. It's all that feminine energy in France. I told you, it's worth it. So you can live on minimum wage in France as a man and still be able to have an apartment for your family and provide. You know what I mean? So it's really unheard of. But here in this country, like it's really been tossed on its. But this isn't that country. This country. You just mentioned France. I'm like, it is different because I travel there every month. So so just that ability to go hunt and execute is part of it, right? And so that's also, they need to tell you, you lose a job, it don't matter, I'll do whatever it takes and I got you. And we know men like this. How many of them? That's very anecdotally, you have to figure that out. I told you, I think it's the minority. I think it's like 30%, honestly, of the men in this country. I think there needs to be a really big genetic reset done over the next 2 generations. And the last one is build. Can they build? And this is like the people who are handyman around the house. It is people who can go outside and chop the wood and do things around the house. Like that is healthy, divine masculine energy. That was part of our survival. But even if it's not part of our survival, I heard plenty of women who are single who are like, I just need someone who can help me fix the sink. And that is a real thing because you're housing and all the things like that. So it's not just build a house or it's build a career, build a goal. It's build a lot of different things. So yeah, these are all part of the healthy divine masculine. So when these podcast bros are saying what they like, it don't matter unless do you build, do you protect, do you provide, do you hunt, can you hunt? And I'm not talking about this. What are you providing? Every single and what, like companionship, 50, like what are you providing? You're not doing that much for you to have all these lists of what you want in a woman. You want her hot? Well, can you provide, protect, build, and hunt for someone who's hot? Right? No, you can't. Maybe you can protect, but you can't do the other thing. So this is something for the women to know, because my experience is we can actually get men we can inspire up to a certain point these men to do these things by having very healthy feminine energy and being very strong in our boundaries. I've seen it myself where they're like me being very clear and direct about what I want, and that men not like that I dated not being good enough. I thought it would scare them away, but like they actually did it. Like it was like I didn't do it for that reason. I'm like, look, you want this? This needs to be fixed. I'm not dealing with it. You want this? You need to make this. I can't know. If I have kids with some guy, they need to be able to afford private school. That's my thing. Like, whatever. Like, I stick to that and I say it directly to their face. And it's very interesting because, A, I was just being truthful and expressing my truth, even if it scares them away. So my boundaries are really strong and expressing my feelings about it. This is not good enough for me to take you seriously. Because, and, you know, I give a reason because of this, or this isn't good enough because, you know, you're disowned by your mom and your dad's an alcoholic Native American. I don't want to have kids with you. Like, the genetics are just messed up. Like, no. Like, you're like the worst genetics in the world and the worst family structure. Like, fix it. Like, fix the relationship with both of them so that, like, but no, I would not have a child with you and bring them into this environment. And it's very interesting because I thought they'd go away. Now, what happens is that there have been smaller things and bigger things. The smaller things, I was quite surprised to see that, like, me holding strong to the boundaries. They left, but then they came back with those things completed. I was like, oh, well, look at that. Still not good enough because I need this. But those other things, oh, that's good. At least you're still, like, I'll take your phone call, right? And, of course, this is for guys who really like you and really masculine guys who actually have those traits, which is pretty much all I can deal with. I can't deal with the feminine energy guy because we just sort of stare at each other. I'm not budging and they're not budging. So, like, like, bye, right? You have to be a masculine energy man. But the good thing is there's, like, if you do this, there's so many women who are not in their feminine energy. And this is across all colors that, like, when they get access to you, they really understand the difference. You know, if I had to describe it, it's like a chaotic sea in your energy field versus a calm, serene, nurturing, warm scene. So, like, if I surround my energy, when I'm in that energy with men, like, there is a sense of calm and peace and stability. Doesn't mean I'm a pushover. There's strength. I'm implacable, but the energy in my presence is soothing because they know they can't just, I'm not going to fly off. You're not getting me to react to anything. I'll react to what I want. I'll respond to what I respond to. So generally, once they get a taste of that, compared to all the chaotic energy of women out there who are just, like, all over the place and don't have that strong emotional center and balance, they're going to come back because it's soothing. It literally feels good to them. So, like, after a certain point, it doesn't matter what you wear, that energy is there, and they know the difference between being around you and how it feels. It literally balances their nervous system. And once you start balancing a man's nervous system because your energy is so serene, it's very interesting. They're going to keep coming back. So, no, I'm not doing, so the decenter men movement, you're like, why are you talking about men? I'm not decentering them. I like men. Now, some are crap, but because I've always had a strong sense of self-preservation, I never let them get too far out of line. Like, so I don't have to decenter men because I didn't have that much trauma from them at that deep level that some women who had no sense of self-preservation, they allowed themselves to be mushed and molded and hurt and dragged so far because they didn't think about themselves first. And so that decenter movement is just not necessary. When you take care of yourself, you don't need to do all these things. Like, you really just don't, because you just didn't. Self-preservation will keep you like, oh, this doesn't feel right. I'm not going to keep doing this. I don't care if I like you. I don't care if you're the love of my, I don't care if you're my soulmate. Like, it doesn't feel good. Bye. Right. So, all of these things. So that's why, like, you're like, why are you still talking about men? I'm not decentering them. If you want to decenter, go for it. I don't need all that. Just take care of yourself and put yourself first. Like, I have a lovely baby. I take care of my baby. But even then, there's a limit. It is. And even then, there's a limit in which I'm like, all right, can't keep doing for you tonight. This is for mom. I know you want this. I know you want that. But I've given you what I could for today. But the rest of the day, it has to be mine. And we're just going with that, right? Even with the daughter I'm loving my life, I still have a sense of self-preservation. Maybe it's the Pisces in me. I can only give so much before I will pull back, even with those I love the most, right? And that sense of self-preservation will protect you from going too far down any lane because you care about yourself and you want your happiness and you'll fight for it, even if that means terminating something that you really love, but it's not the best for you. So, yeah. every conversation needs to be, what are you providing, if anything? And then we'll decide if that's even worth it. For all these long lists of demands of who to date and who not to date, what are you providing? What are you protecting? What are you building? What are you hunting for? How are you going about your goal and mission? Right? So that is what I want to talk about. If some people, all this healthy femininity, which is like, releasing control, not forcing, not trying to control, letting it happen. It doesn't happen. You keep it going. You don't sit there and get chaotic in your energy about it. But no one ever talks about what's the healthy divine masculine energy. And all these podcast bros, they're in their feminine energy so much. Because if you ask them this, you know what I mean? They might say they might protect, but then, are they protecting your emotions, or are they, because that can get really distorted too when they use like, well, yeah, I pay all the bills, but then they want to control the woman and kick her out if she says something, or use it to manipulate, right? So a lot of different things goes into the healthy masculinity. It's also emotional balance as well, which is what a lot of men here lack, the ability to care and empathize with women, and not just use them as objects. Now, some of that is just masculine, distorted masculinity anyways, but America has what I think is like a slight twist of capitalism, which is why American men started this, what's your market value? Because everything's about money and business and power. So they even brought there to the relationships, right? And so that's where it got really distorted, because if you don't see any of my feminine energy, now they do when they're around women who have it, but on the surface, without looking at it, it's like everything has to be dollars, cents, and a market value. Well, then you're just stripping all the beauty out of the relationship, right? Like everything's not dollar and cents. Well, that's an American twist of twisted toxic capitalism and toxic masculinity all in one. You're nothing but a number or a piece of paper or a net worth, right? Very American. Whereas in other cultures, you don't talk about money like this, so that's the last thing on people's mind. And they're surviving on their own without needing a woman. So, it's very different in the energy that they were able to keep their masculine energy and their provision energy in different countries. So that's what I want to talk about. And genetics and breeding. Oh, and the last thing I was talking about is that we can inspire with our implacable boundaries. Those that can be activated with you being strong will be activated. And if every woman here in America would stop dating and they stuck to that, that's enough to activate the men who can be activated. But we have to understand that not all of them can. They're too far gone. They're too far on the fit. They're a man body, but they're too feminine. And they don't want to go back. We need to let them go. Now, I have a personal belief, especially since I've been traveling so much. I literally think at least half of the men in this country are like outright gay or secretly gay. I know the last 20 years, all I've heard is gay men and transsexual men going, oh, I turned so many straight men gay. I turned so many straight men gay. They've been made it a mission to turn as many straight men as they can. And I honestly think in America, they've done it. So y'all need to understand, I think you guys are competing against men who don't even like women anymore. I think it's easier to turn gay, and they stay that way because it's such a sexually explicit type experience from the male view. But I don't know. I think we're at the fall of the Roman Empire where all the men just stopped being men. So we're definitely on the sassy level of it. But I think like I said, I think they did mission and they accomplished their mission. I think all they've been doing is trying to flip straight men into being gay, and secretly or openly. And when I look around at the sea, doing this massive feminine energy and going overseas and seeing it, it's like, to me, it's just obvious that a lot of these men don't even like women anymore. This is just my experience. This is just my thoughts. Post your comments below if you think it's not that bad. I do. And like I said, when you travel outside the country and keep coming back and keep traveling, and then in one place it's so chaotic and messy, and the other place it's not, you really understand that, like, I'm the same person, The situations are different, and one's healthier in another country. It's the country. Like, it's not any, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't go anywhere, though, you're just dealing with what you have, and you're dealing with it, and you're just trying to make the best of it. But sometimes you don't know you're making the best of, like, men who are just so far on the feminine or don't even like women anymore. We just need a huge cleansing, genetic cleansing. So I do support the child-free movement and the celibacy movement, because for women that's very healthy and good, and they build the base businesses. They can feel like they become the most beautiful, they become the most self-actualized, and especially if they have a lot of trauma and hurt, that'll just take time to get rid of. I endorse it. And also, a lot of men are just men going their own way. And now, on seeing the state of it, I think that's positive for this country, because there's a lot of genetics that needs to be wiped out over the next 2 years. So I am the biggest endorser of it as well. So women, like child-free women and celibate women, it's shown, it's proven you're happier. Yeah, you get a little lonely, but not too much. Because here's the cool thing about women who are child-free. That doesn't mean they're lonely. They have friends, but not just that, they have male friends. Now, men who are going their own way, they are lonely, because it's hard for men in this country to have friends. Not like in other countries where men actually have friends, but in this country, the men don't. It's just a toxic culture. They don't even know how to be friends with each other that well. Or it's like friends, but they're sort of lovers, not like friends. You know what I mean? They're like, whatever. Sort of lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. But yeah, so let's go into genetic breeding. Oh, men going their own way. Let that happen. Now, when men go their own way, they aren't necessarily talking or being with women. Now, actually, it's very interesting. Like they say, men go a little crazy when they're lonely. It's funny. I have a friend, and the last 3 years since COVID, he's been increasingly by himself and isolated. And all of a sudden, after 3 years of that, he has to go get medicine for panic attacks. It doesn't like going into the stores. And I don't know, I just think it's an example of like men when they're by themselves, it goes really bad for their mental health very quickly, you know? So to me, it's just an example of that. That doesn't happen to women. And I know it from a feminine energy. They literally need feminine energy. That's what keeps their nervous system grounded. So even if they're being mean to women, it's still some sort of engagement with that life-giving source of energy to keep them emotionally stable. So that's why, yeah, even if they're arguing with you, if they're still feeding, I think we need to cut it all off, but just understand it might be a bit chaotic as we go. So yeah, that's the state. Men going their own way, women going their own way. I think in this country that might be for the best. A cleansing of these feminine men who don't protect and provide, but they're very sassy, very entitled, very rude, very condescending. They just need to be done. They just need to die out. So yeah, so all the podcast bros, what are they providing? What are you protecting? What are you building? What are you hunting? What value are you providing other than being a male? Because you sound very sassy right now, like not your healthy masculine, right? And so that needs to be the first question. And then it shouldn't even go further than that. The whole question should be like, what are you bringing and why should anyone care? You know what I mean? Are you bringing poverty? Are you bringing poverty wages? Do you know how to fix things around the house? Do you know how to do things outside? Do you know how to build anything? Build a business, build a life, build a family. And a lot of these men don't. They'll talk a good game. So yeah, I just wanted to go a little bit into that. My thoughts on, because I travel so much, what I feel is like the lack of healthy masculinity or men who even like women anymore in this country. I think they've all been turned. I think their mission was accomplished. Didn't see this coming, but and a genetic cleansing is necessary. So I support the child-free movement and the celibacy for women. And the men go their own way movement. It's necessary. Sometimes when things get this bad, you can't change it. It's just like racism in the US. Every generation, the people die off. That's the change. You cannot stop these people from having a level of superiority and racism in this country. But as they die off, you notice the change, right? Some things just a die off is the only way. Like what? The Great Flood? God knows it. Sometimes he just floods the whole country and it's just like, I can't with them. Like they're not going anywhere. We're just gonna flood, save the animals, save a few families, and we're gonna start over. Right? And so we're at that event. But guess what? Guess who's the image of God? Women, right? Especially melanated women. We are the creators, the highest manifestors and creators. So let's take the reins in our hands, women. And if they're not doing all these things that even basic male birds in the wild know how to do, it should go no further than the conversation of what they're putting on that table. Okay, that's it. That is it. You expressing what you want and them saying if they can meet it, and if not, holding to your boundaries and go. And it, like I said, either child-free celibate or going somewhere else to different countries. Like I said, I think Black American women are more aligned with European values, to be quite honest. So it's not even a hard stretch. But yeah, so talk to you guys later. I hope you enjoyed that conversation and have some idea of what healthy divine masculine energy is, which isn't really seen here as much. But at least we know what we're looking for, and hopefully some of these men, and I know, and I have seen a few are starting to undergo the journey, because a lot of the women have been talking the way I'm talking, and they've been very serious. And so I've actually started to see a small change in the men who want to change. The other ones are just going to stay in their feminine. Love them. All right, bye.